Good evening to all present here and welcome to today's event. With most of us looking for promising sectors in the current market, our Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Sunil Damania, will be providing his opinion on whether the auto sector is poised to outperform going forward. Find out how soaring inflation might impact the eye-catching auto rally. Towards the end, we'll also be answering some of your questions. Over to you, Mr. Sunil.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jason, and very warm welcome all of you. I distinctly recollect in the month of September, October, everyone was asking me about EV. And I distinctly recollect one of the stock which I selected for my Murat buys was from auto ancillary industry. And one of the reasons at that point of time, which I articulated at that point of time, that there could be a revival in the auto sector. And if that's so, it should help the auto ancillary company. And one of the company that I had selected at that point of time was also into EV. Unfortunately, that company did not do well as much as I would have loved to do well. But somewhere the sector call seems to be turning out to be correct, because it was a little ahead of the time in terms of that, the outlook. Now, why am I doing this webinar today? Will it continue to outperform auto sector? Because what has happened in 2022, auto sector did extremely well. In fact, it did so well that it's one of the best performing sector of 2022. And many of you people ask us, is it too late? Or still there is enough steam is left for to invest in the auto companies. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make a detailed presentation on auto sector, and then of course we'll take questions from all of you. But before I start my webinar, Jason, I just want very quickly for you to run through one quick survey and try to understand how many attendees who are attending this webinar wants to buy electrical vehicle in next 12 months. If you can do that. Jason?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks. So till such time Jason is ready with the poll, let me just put a disclaimer that this webinar is only for an education purpose. Whenever you invest in the equity market, it does carry a little higher amount of risk, and past performance should not be construed as any indicator for the future performance. So just try with this. Yeah, good. Be honest, be frank, and please participate. बहुत simple सा सवाल है, क्या एक साल के अंदर क्या आप सोच रहे हो इलेक्ट्रिकल व्हीकल लेने के लिए? जवाब होना चाहिए हाँ या ना, दो ही ऑप्शंस है वहां पे. And I want everyone to please participate in this. I can see 79% participating, 80% very good. I want 100%. So request है जिन्होंने अभी तक participate नहीं किया है, please participate that. And what has come as a big surprise to me is the answer. I thought the answer is completely contrary to my expectation was. Okay, let's conclude, Jason, if you don't mind, because it's already 1 minute, 86% people have participated. And if you see, only 29% people have said yes. 71% said no. And I think it's a big surprise because I thought many people would have said yes, but the answer is no. And I'm going to suggest you also, and I have kept my last section only for the EV. And I'll explain you in great detail what's happening with the EV and Senso. So jot it down, 71% says they don't intend to buy electrical vehicles in next 1 year. So if that is so, why are we all talking and excited about kaun si EV company leni chahiye? Because if most of you don't intend to buy, that means there is no demand. If there is no demand, then where was the company is going to make money from that? And if the company is not going to make money, then why should you be getting into that company? So it's a very different. So anyway, I will cover on that aspect of this. Now let me begin my presentation. Why am I doing this webinar? Purely because of what has happened in the 2022. 13% gain, especially when the overall market is in red. So what has suddenly changed? ऐसा क्या हो गया which suddenly started what was not there in 2021 and suddenly happened in 2022, that auto companies have started doing very well. And I'm going to discuss in great detail what has happened. Why is that suddenly the interest has come that auto sector started doing well? If you ask me, last couple of years, auto has been struggling and struggling very badly. Whether you look at Mahindra and Mahindra, whether you look at Maruti Suzuki, company like Bajaj Auto, company like Hero MotoCorp, and so on and so forth, they were real struggler in terms of getting investors' attention. So suddenly, kya ho gaya? And why this auto index looks so promising? Purely because the three companies, that is Maruti Suzuki, Mahindra and Mahindra, and Tata Motors, they all three combined basically has 61% weightage in the, or maybe more than 62% kind of a weightage in the auto index. So if these three companies does very well, very obviously the auto companies should do very well, isn't it? Sorry, 51%, 52%. I stand corrected. These three companies. Now, if you look at it, the Mahindra and Mahindra has been the best performing company in the auto index. In 2022, it's up by 39%. And of course, Maruti Suzuki, which is also our stock of the month, is up by 16.4%. Both these companies did very well. But Tata Motors, on the contrary, is down by 11%, despite EV story and other stuff. And despite the Tata, the come as a surprise. So, and another company which did extremely well is TVS Motor, up by 36.5% in 2022. Now, why suddenly such a good? Why everyone is want to invest in auto companies? Purely because auto index, and human has a psychology. जो चीज चलती है ना, we want to rush towards that sector or that particular company, and that creates some kind of a bubble in the company or the sector. We all are victims of the recency bias. There is a herd mentality. The what applies to the cattle also applies to the retail investors. हम लोग को वहां पे जाना है जहां पे तेजी है, सोचते नहीं कि वहां पे पैसा बनेगा कि नहीं बनेगा. We saw that happening with chemical companies. A lot of people invested in chemical companies at the higher level, burned their fingers very badly. We saw many of you invested in IT companies, especially in the mid-cap IT companies, burn the fingers very badly. And that's a normal trend actually. So let's try to understand why auto companies are started doing very well. But before that, let me just explain you what was the reason why auto companies were struggling. And if you understand the reason why they were struggling, we will be able to understand why they are doing well, because it's always a function of better sentiment. So what happened in the auto companies in last? So this is the first thing I'll basically talk about, how the price returns. As I told you, last 5 years, most of the auto companies have been poor returns. In fact, it's never been the focus area for many fund managers and many investors. Many companies have shown very, very huge decline. In 2018, almost each and every company reported negative. And that time there was no COVID. In 2019, something very similar. Most of the companies were in the red. 2020, overall market did well. Why? Because in April 2020, the March 2020 market crashed because of Corona. And then this. But escorts did extremely well, purely because of the change in the management, Kubota coming in. There was they took a stake and everything. But overall, there was not a super duper gains, except another company which Mahindra and Mahindra did well, and Hero MotoCorp did 28%. But कोई ज़्यादा बड़ा तेजी नहीं देखने को मिला. 2021 absolutely goes to Tata Motors, of course, which is declining today. And then Escorts continued its upward journey, up by 48%. पर कोई दूसरा बड़ा कोई कंपनी ने कोई बड़ा तगड़ा पैसा नहीं दिया इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए. But 2022 has been a little different. So why did they underperform? Purely because there was no growth in the auto companies. If you look at the top line growth of last 5 years of the auto companies, they grew less than the nominal GDP growth rate. Nominal GDP growth rate. And if you look at the compound net profit has been, CAGR 8%, 6%, 0%, -8, 13, 8, -8. कोई पैसा बना ही नहीं. There was no. So while top line was subdued, the bottom line was completely pathetic, except Escorts, because Escorts is a base effect of lower base that really helped. But otherwise, auto companies struggling to report top line growth below nominal GDP growth rate, and the profit much. And remember, this is a time last 5 years where investors were chasing growth story. They were willing to pay higher premium for companies which is reporting growth. And when the auto companies were not reporting any growth, they thought, let's not put our money into auto sector. And why the auto sector had the challenge? I think government also played a very important role. So first, let's look at what happened to the overall sales. 3.1 crore sales of auto came down to 2.6, 2.3, 2.3. Of course, this is a COVID period, but not so much, because only in March we had this COVID, but it was declining. It was declining. And why is that so? You name it, and the thing went wrong for the auto company. In 2019, government came out with the new safety norms. What were the safety norms? That every car should have airbags, only for the driver. That's good. Then they came out with the speed warning alarm. The moment it goes beyond 80, 1 beep after every 1 minute, and 120 continuous beep kind of stuff. Seat belt alarm for the driver and the co-driver that has come in. ABS compulsory for each and every car. CBS for two-wheelers, less than 125 cc. So the government came out with the various measures to increase the safety features. That increased the cost of production, and hence the price for the this one, the car, and this one. Then another factor came in, and the insurance factor, where government said that comprehensive insurance policy you should take, and that increased the cost of ownership. Then that was in 2019. 2020 we saw pandemic hitting us. There was a lockdown. Dealers were closed. People could not buy the car. Even there was no need to buy the car. Why? Because everything was under lockdown. You are not going to the office. You cannot travel. Why? Because there was a restriction in terms of travel. Why would someone buy the car? So that impacted further. And when that happened, there was a supply side issue. Price of raw material started going up, whether it's steel, aluminum, rhodium, palladium, everything started going up. If that was not there, we saw a chip shortage coming in. Why? Because of the supply side, there was a more demand for the mobile, more demand for the laptop, more because people were working from home, and so on. So there was hardly anything. And there was more demand, less supply, and supply side destruction also happened because a lot of countries that were producing cheap, that semiconductor, they faced a problem. Somehow auto companies could not pass on that input cost hike because of competition, and that impacted. Now chip shortage also further aggravated. Why? Because of Russia-Ukraine war. Now what Russia-Ukraine war has to do? Remember, the largest producer of palladium is Russia, and the palladium goes into manufacture of semiconductor. Ukraine is the largest producer of neon gas, and when you want to produce this one semiconductor, you need neon gas. They further impacted this. So government regulation In the meantime, the RBI also started hiking the rate of interest, and most of the cars get bought on the EMI. Then input cost pressure, higher competition, so on and so forth. This is all impacted. So then the question comes, has the situation improved so much that auto industry started doing very well? I must tell you, situation has improved. How it has improved? Let me explain you this way. So when you look at the cost structure of auto companies, it's mainly a material cost, 75%. If you look at it, the material cost is very, very high for the auto component company. Maruti Suzuki 75%, Hero MotoCorp 71%, Escort 69%, Bajaj Auto 73%, Tata Motor 65%. Now these are the very high. What has happened now? The material costs have started coming down very drastically. Why? Because steel prices have come down, aluminum prices have come down, palladium prices come down, rhodium prices come down, and on top of it, even the crude oil prices started coming down. Remember, in the raw material cost, almost 50% is accounted by the steel. If the steel price goes down, it's a very effective thing for the auto companies. At the same time, when the crude oil price comes down, the price of petrol and diesel comes down. And why that is very critical? Because your running cost to run that vehicle comes down, and that spurs the demand. There's a correlation between the higher crude oil price and lower auto sales, and the vice versa. So these two. At the same time, the chip shortage issue have started relaxing. So now more and more chips are available that will further help auto companies. At the same time, despite the third wave, Indian economy did not announce any lockdown. And that was a big relief for the auto companies. Why big relief? Because there was no lockdown of the dealership, and hence, and the people started traveling, and that also further improved. Then schools started reopening, that further boosted the demand for the commercial vehicles, because you need vehicles, school buses, am I right? And this is all help really auto companies. So they were down and out, and the moment investors saw some ray of hope, people started rushing towards the auto stocks. And that really helped auto companies to do extremely well. If you look at the inventory level right now, and this data we have taken from FADA, that is Federation of Automobile Dealers Association, that is, so remember in auto companies, what company report is the wholesale sale, and what FADA report is the retail sales. How many people? So company sold to the dealer, but how many dealers could sell to the customers? That clearly gives an idea about what is the sentiment on the retail level. I must also tell you that automobile industry, even though I've said is an auto industry, it is a very different driving force. Two-wheeler has a different driving force in terms of demand and supply as compared to the four-wheelers. And the same way, the four-wheelers has a different kind of a dynamics compared to the commercial vehicles. Within the commercial vehicle, heavy and medium commercial vehicles have a different dynamics as compared to the LCV, that's the light commercial vehicles. Within two-wheelers, we have observed how the scooter demand and the motorbike demand varies. So so even though it looks like a one industry, the demand dynamics and the business dynamics are very different in auto industry. And sometimes we do tend to brush everyone with the same color, which should not be the case. Now, what has happened with the average inventory with the dealer? It has remained very steady as far as the car is concerned. 15 to 20 in September 2021, in June 2015-20, it did go to 8 to 10 when there was a supply side concern. But if you look at two-wheelers, it was used to 30-35 days to 20-23 days. And investors took this as a very positive step. Why? Because if the inventory level is low with the dealers, that means there is no dead inventory in the system. That means the demand is good. And if the demand is good, the company should do extremely well. That's the reason the auto companies did very well. Now, before I come to whether these things will continue or not, let me touch upon EV side of the business, because I distinctly recollect everyone is excited about EV, EV. And unfortunately, people have stopped asking me the EV story. Otherwise, in September, October, November, December, everyone was asking about the EV. So let's understand what the EV business is doing, electrical vehicle. Today, EV sales as on FY 2022 is at 4.3 lakh. It was 3 lakh, 1.3 lakh is increased to 4.3 lakh. And where is it basically driven by? It is still two-wheelers. Number of four-wheeler, that is car, is only sold 16,000 in full year. You know, yesterday, the other day when I was doing a presentation on Maruti Suzuki, someone asked me about Tata Motors, you know, the total car, electrical cars is only 16,000. Maruti sells 16 lakh cars in a year. The total EV is only 16,000. So today, nowadays, as of now, EV is more of a story of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. I must tell you, it's increasing. It's increasing very significantly. Am I right? Last year, it declined FY 2020 to FY 2021, but it did increase in FY 2022. Now, very interesting thing, because you people keep asking me, kaun sa EV company lena chahiye? And hence, I'm going to showcase you who control what market share in electrical vehicles. So even though it's a small businesses, let me start with the car. Tata Motor is the largest player, controlling 85% market share in electric four-wheeler. But the volume is very low only, 15,198. Yes, it's in a listed space. But the number two is MG Motor. It's not in a listed space. Mahindra sells only 150, could sell only 156 vehicles. Followed by Hyundai, which is not listed. Audi is not listed, and then so on and so forth. So total cars sold is near about 17,000, 18,000 maximum. Let's come to the two-wheeler. And remember, can you see a single player, listed player, a top 5 player in this? Answer is no. Hero Electrical Vehicles Private Limited. It's not a part of Hero MotoCorp, let me tell you. Okinawa Autotech Private Limited. It's not a listed company. Ampere Vehicles, not a listed company. Ather Energy, not a listed company. Per Energy, not a listed electrical company. Ola Electric, not a listed company. TVS Motor is, yes, it's a listed company. So when you want to write EV story, where would you write the story from? कोई है ही नहीं listed space में आप कैसे buy करोगे उसको? And this top 5 players accounts for almost 70-75% of the market share. So two-wheeler this is the story. Let's come to the three-wheeler now. Have you heard a company called IC Electric? Answer is no. Then there is a Saira Electric. Answer is no. Mahindra Reva Electric, which is a part of Reva and Mahindra. It's not a listed company, it's a private limited. Champion Polyplast, Delhi Electric Auto Private Limited, Bestway. These are the players in electric three-wheelers. So where do you see this electric story, EV story being played out with the listed entity? The answer is no. And something very similar with the commercial vehicles. Kinetic, Green Energy and Power. Only 833 vehicles. PMI Electro. Tata Motors has 280 vehicles, but that's a very small. This is the thing. So my point, what I wish to convey here is that electric vehicle has a bright future, and that's the future only. I must tell you that. But today, none of the listed players has any significant presence in terms of market share in electrical vehicle. And hence, if you wish to really write out the EV story, it's too little early. It's little early to write out that. Now, you know, Castrol came out with this study on, and of course, this study is little dated on September 2020. It's not this one. And they came out with a very interesting study which says that what should be the tipping points for someone to buy EV. As we did the survey right now with our attendees, 79% said they don't intend to buy EV in next 1 year. But what could be the tipping point? Where would this is as per Castrol. I'm so sure if I have to do the study right now, the data would undergo tremendous change. But they found out what customers willing to pay to electrical vehicles. And that point of time, they said 23 lakhs. To be very frank with you, 23 lakhs is a too high amount. Today, 85% of the car that being sold in the country has a price point less than 23 lakhs. Okay. So, but I think they said 23 lakhs. But very interesting that they came out with the studies that investors or the customers want only 35 minutes of a charging time. They want an electric vehicle to be charged within 35 minutes fully. And they want range. Once you charge the car, EV, it should give a range of 401 kilometer. And when this question was asked in September 2020, when would you like to buy your EV? And the answer was next 2 years. That is by September 2022. But when I did the survey with you people, most of the people said they don't intend to buy EV at least in next 1 year. Forget about September 2022, which is just a couple of months away. I'm very not sure with 23 lakhs, how many people would be able to buy. To become EV to be sustainable, this is for four-wheelers. Sorry, I did not mention it's for electric four-wheelers. I think to become EV to be successful, I think we need to have a price point less than 10 lakhs. And that would be a sweet spot to create that. Second thing, the infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of charging. We should have an electrical vehicle infrastructure charging points at least at 25 kilometer distance. Maybe we can begin with 100, but eventually it should come with the 25 kilometer distance. And once that happens, that anxiety about the range, that will my electrical vehicle will stop in middle of the road because there's no electricity left, I think that will get resolved. So I think EV is a story in the making. That is where the future. Now, having said that, we look at how industry has did not attract the investors' attention because of obvious reasons of government regulatory reasons, raw material price, chip shortage, lockdown, so on and so forth. Now the rate of interest, see, I strongly believe that inflation has come under control as far as India is concerned. Hence, RBI is not going to hike too many rate hikes also. Maybe maximum one rate hike. Hence, no further rate hike. Crude oil prices started coming down. Raw material prices have started coming down. Does this industry become a very sweet darling of the investors or not going forward? So I'm going to discuss about that. We must also understand what are the headwinds for the industry, am I right? Before we go to that. The monsoon is a very critical factor for tractor, for commercial vehicles, and especially motorbikes. So scooter is a more of a urban choice. In villages, you don't find people buying scooters. They buy bike because bike is more sturdy and is more suitable for the rural roads. And if that is so, the monsoon has to be good. So auto sector, right now, we have a good monsoon, except the UP, I think where the monsoon continues to be a little bad. And I think Government of India came out with the first assessment suggesting that there could be a less rice production this year. Why? Because the genetic reason that monsoon has been little below average. Of course, too early. It was just 1 month only to the monsoon season, and that could become this. At the same time, Government of India is further improving the emission norms and the safety norms. In fact, by next couple of months, each and every car should be fitted with 6 airbags. And that's going to be the mandatory. And that's going to happen. That will further increase the cost of ownership. And cost of ownership, it goes up. It does impact the demand side. Another thing is a fierce competition. And now let me give you something which is little contrary to the market perception. Today, if you look at the complete auto industry, especially the four-wheeler industry, And somehow, I always wonder, some of these entrepreneurs, somehow they really lack in terms of strategy. And I give you two examples. And if you don't agree with me, and I would love to have someone from the auto industry, Jason, I would request if someone is from the auto industry, if they can either vouch what I'm saying or they have a difference of opinion. Either way, you please pick up that question, because I would love to get proved wrong or proved right, either way. When Honda started doing very well with that scooter, and they started getting a lot of market share, every Tom, Dick and Harry wanted to go and start concentrating more on the scooter. What happened? The scooter demand then started plateauing down. And whatever the capacity that you put in is not making money for you. Okay. And also, Activa also started losing its appeal, and Honda is also struggling to report growth. Something similar is happening right now with the SUV segment. You look at each and every commentary of each and every auto players, whether listed or non-listed. Everyone wants to become a dominant player in SUV. A lot of people are refreshing their product in the in the SUV segment. My sense is that the SUV segment will very soon plateau. There will not be any further growth. But more competition is going to be a problem. You spend money in terms of R&D, you spend money in terms of infrastructure, you spend money on plant and machinery, and the product, there are too many products to choose from. Today, you have been spoiled for choice in SUV, and it will get further spoiled in next 6 to 12 months. Even Honda has announced that they are going to launch a new SUV. They were not very successful with WRV and VRV, right? They are going to, Maruti is launching, Mahindra launch Scorpion, other two products. Tata is launching, Hyundai is launching now their premium Tuscon, new version of that. They already have Alcazar, they have a Creta, and that's going to improve. Nissan has come up with this one. Renault is going to come up. My sense is that more and more competition is going to further increase. And what happened with the scooter? Something similar will happen with the SUV. This is another thing which is happening in the economy. If you happen to listen to the government of India, they're talking about, it's a positive as well as negative. I must tell you both. The positive is that government of India wants to construct more roads. When the road infrastructure improves, it does increase the demand for the automobiles, whether it's a commercial vehicle, whether it's a car, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, government of India is also talking about metros. And I've been informed that many tier 1 and tier 2 cities are having metros. Forget about tier 1 and tier 2 cities. What does this do? It reduces the demand for two-wheelers. It reduces the demand for the cars. It reduces the demand for the three-wheelers, auto rickshaws. And as and when more and more metros get built up, less and less demand would be there for people, whether it's a taxi-related demand or that is public transport, or it's related to the personal mobility. And there are various empirical evidence available in the other parts of the world. When the public transport infrastructure improves, it does reduces the demand for the automobiles. And in next 5 years, many cities will have a very robust metro systems, which is running, and that would further create a demand dampener for the automobile industry. Of course, government of India has announced a lot of PLI to boost auto industry, and export could be another potential that can happen, but I think it's a little long time to happen. These are the regulatory change that I was talking about that's going to come. And these are the emission norms that government of India has been talking about. So how should we now play with the auto stocks? Should you invest? Should you not invest? And my advice to all of you is that extremely stock specific. The sector has done well. I agree with you. Is it going to continue? The answer is no. The answer is no. I again repeat, stock specific. Company like Maruti will do well. Company like Mahindra may do well. But will all companies from the auto sector will do well? The answer is no. You have to be extremely stock specific. Otherwise, your call on the sector may be right, but the selection is wrong, then you will lose money, and vice versa. I also believe strongly that there was a pent-up demand, am I right? Because people did not buy cars for 2 years. I distinctly recollect, we hosted Ramdev Agarwal last year somewhere in April or May, and he mentioned that he is not even thinking of buying a new car. Because karne ka kya? He was working from home, but he would have definitely bought a new car. I've not spoken to him, but anyway, it's a good reminder. Let me find out whether he bought a new car or not. But he would have bought a new car. So that pent-up demand is already, I think it's almost on the verge of getting over. And high competition will not allow companies to expand the margins. Some of the auto companies are having a very poor strategy. I don't want to name them, but they're extremely poor. And I think they're going to put wrong assets allocations. First thing, the product mix is completely haywire. And number two, I think they are behind the curve in terms of launching products. And hence, they will suffer very bad. To remember, Maruti suffered very badly last 5 years, am I right? Because of wrong product positioning. They did not realize that SUV is the name of the game. They lost their market share in SUV. They lost only, they gave up. The overall Maruti market share came down from 50% to 40+% only. And they completely very poor state in SUV. Now, of course, they started correcting. They moved out of a diesel car, and the diesel car did extremely well. Some companies, I'm afraid, sorry to say, even though they're doing a lip service, they don't have a clearly defined EV strategy. And I think they're going to pay a very heavy price. Some of the people players believe that EV is not going to be the mass product. And I strongly believe that EV is going to be the mass product. And Government of India will make it ensure that it becomes a mass product. Why? Because it will reduce heavily our crude oil import. And that has been hurting Indian economy very badly in last so many decades. And once that EV, when we move to the EV, Government of India will be able to sell a lot of forex, which in turn will make India currency very, very strong. And next 5 years, the company that's going to create wealth is those companies not in the IC engines, but the company that are going to adopt or do a research on EV products and come out the products which are EV focused. And they are going to create a wealth. I'm afraid, I would happy to be proved wrong, but I'm afraid some of the listed players are absolutely having a wrong strategy when it comes to the EV strategy. And due to that, they're going to underperform very significantly in the years to come. The way black and white television manufacturers suffered, they could not move to the color TV. And when the color TV they could move to, they did not realize the power of flat TV. And they suffered very badly. They lost market share, am I right? They lost business. The first TV we bought in 1984-85, I'm not able to recollect. And name of the brand was Crown TV. You'll be surprised to know that we paid premium to buy the TV. आजकल तो डिस्काउंट में मिलता है ना कलर टीवी we paid price premium to buy the TV, but no TV was available. And I distinctly recollect we used to watch early in the morning that Benson and Hedges matches color TV पे channel 9 पे. Okay, and that Crown TV is no one would have, those who are young would have not heard the name also. They must have forgot about Crown TV, and that's what the technology change is going to happen. And I'm afraid some of these incumbent players have a very poor strategy in terms of electrical vehicle, and they will continue to underperform very significantly. So don't get carried away by the short-term price appreciation. I think the strategy is not in right place. With this, let me also give you which are the companies where score is above 70 in our system. Mahindra has a score of 77. Eicher Motor has a score of 72. Maruti Suzuki, which is also our stock of the month, is a score of 71. Hero Motor 64, TVS Motor 60, Bajaj Auto 57, Ashok Leyland 54, and these are the companies which our system suggests is not able to create wealth and they are sell. If you look at technically, there are few companies which are bullish right now, but other this portion are not giving so much excitement. So here is a list available to you to help you understand if at all you wish to take an exposure to auto companies, which company you should be, and some companies which you should make an exit in case if you're holding, then you can take a call, or in case if you're thinking of buying, where our score says less than 50, you should definitely avoid that. With this, wealth creation is an art. Not everyone can do that. And sometimes we don't want to take a help of a professional advisor. Why? Because हम लोग समझते हैं हमको सब कुछ आता है, and then we end up losing money big time. So take a help of professional advisor, and if you do that, we have a very beautiful scheme, 19,999 for 2 years, which comes at a massive 50% discount, which help you to create wealth, which works out in about 10,000 rupees per annum, less than 30 rupees per day. I'll request my colleague Jason to please drop the link for you people to subscribe, and we'll open the floor for question and answer. Let's hope.
Okay, I've dropped the link in the chat box. I can see a lot of questions coming on electric vehicles, so I'll start picking those questions first. The first one is by Mr. Amulya, and a lot of investors have asked this. They say that EV are costly and not worth the price since the maintenance part is a bit costly. What's your opinion on this?
Sir, you are right. It's something like a mobile phone. You know, when the first mobile phone came in, the price of handset was also very costly. So I distinctly recollect I bought a Siemens phone, the big one. It was like so heavy that you could use that as a weapon also to hit someone. And the 16 rupees per minute for incoming and outgoing both. But the price reduced. Same way, something similar will happen with EV, both in terms of capital cost and the running cost. So I think, yes, you are right. As the penetration increases, the price of EV will come down. In fact, I would not be surprised it comes down below the IC engine price also. Why? Because the components that goes into EVs are much lesser than the IC engines. And hence, the price will come down drastically in the years to come. I can tell you in 5 years down the line, in 2027, India would be selling more EVs as compared to IC engines. I must repeat, more EVs as compared to IC engines in next 5 years. But is there someone there from the auto industry who may vouch or may contradict or it doesn't agree with my view? Jason?
So currently I've not got any questions regarding to that, but if anyone's from the auto industry and have a different opinion or would like to share some insights, please drop it in the chat box and we'll surely pick them up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move to this next particular question. So this is by Mr. Gandhi. He says biggest problem in electronic vehicles is charging. Elon Musk in USA created a charging point at every multi-story building and many other centers. In India, it will take long time to create such infrastructure.
Sir, I agree with you. I don't agree with the long time. I believe it will happen much faster than you and me can think about it. That's why I'm very confident that 5 years down the line, India would be selling more electrical vehicles than the IC engine. See, every company is making a strategy, and creating electric charging infrastructure is not technologically challenged. I'm again repeating, it's not technology. I've studied this very closely, and it's not going to be a big nightmare for this. In fact, today morning, I was showing someone that in city like Bombay, we do have an electrical vehicle charging station. I've shown some photos also, okay, how it is available. Well, Brookfield Asset has, there's a place called Powai in Bombay where Tata Power has created that kind of it. Of course, it's this one, but it will come up very fast. You people, in fact, a lot of housing societies will also create EVs And I can tell you, in next 1 year, at least in city like Bombay, the builder will sell the flats only on the promise that they will have a electric vehicle charging point for their cars. That's going to happen.
Okay, I can see quite a few investors complimenting the presentation and the style for today. If you all have any other feedback regarding the presentation layout or even the webinar, so you can simply drop it in the chat box. It does help us improve each webinar going forward.
That's true.
I'll move to this next particular question. This is actually asked by a lot of investors. Vinita has framed it well. Which auto companies can go out of business if EV continues to penetrate the market and increase its market share?
Sir, many companies. I don't want to be in a prediction mode today. It's all about strategy. And I think I have some of the companies, when you listen to them, I really wonder what are they talking about. It doesn't make any sense for them to do what kind of tech they are talking about. And many of them incumbent players will go out of the business. I can tell you with a lot of confidence. I don't want to name them. I know them, but I don't want to be basically preempt them, or I should give them a chance to correct their strategy. If they don't correct the strategy, they will be out of the business. How many people remember Videocon and BPL and Onida? I'm giving a classical example of color TV. And now, do you even hear about them, BPL or Videocon or Onida TV? The answer is no. Something similar will happen with. So those who can relate to what I'm relating, BPL, Onida, and Videocon, something similar will happen to the EV. That's going to happen. Very quickly, can I ask one question? If you don't mind, can we do a very quick poll and so find out how many investors want markets will do will and the family office kind of stuff? Just can you quickly run that poll, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the poll. Could you repeat?
How many investors want markets Mojo to do offer will service and the family office service to them? If you can quickly run this survey. We could pick up another question and then you can.
Yes, this question actually has come by Mr. Bharat Mehta. He is a petrol pump dealer and he says the company is already studying on projection on future demand of fuels, but all have concluded that same thing, that EV will be more in the population in the future.
Oh, so sir, what we are saying is you are basically you are concurring with what I'm suggesting. So you are suggesting more EV vehicles would be there as compared to this one. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also feel the same thing, sir. And thanks a lot, Bharat Bhai, because since you are an auto dealer, you would definitely just say, can you help us understand? Are you also planning to convert your auto into that the gas station into EV? And if yes, what is stopping you not able to do it? If you can help us understand that also, that would be great.
Okay, we've got another particular question. Yeah, this is by Captain Frank. He says, number for electronic vehicle sales can only show huge increase after a company like Tesla comes to India. What's your opinion on this?
Sir, why? Sir, I think you are from US. That's why you think it's a what we call Tesla. I believe Indian companies are smart enough and they will come out with a product which can see what is the total number of Tesla cars being sold in the world and what is the demand that India has. Huge. So I don't. Tesla is welcome to India, but I think it's not dependent on whether Tesla comes or not. EV will do extremely well. Jason, just one thing. Is my audio really bad?
No, I think your audio is fine. I don't know if any of the other investors have felt the audio is bad, but I think your audio is clear and fine.
No, because I can see one question from Anil Kapoor is saying that please improve audio, Mr. Sunil Damania. So that made me a little worried. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just launching the poll.
Achha, you have only put will service. Okay, take care. And I request everyone, everyone should have a will. And that's a very critical. I think this is the one legal document that most of us have neglected very badly. And the reason has been that people have not been educated well enough about this. I want everyone to please participate. I can see only 64% participating. I want 100% participation. 69% now.
Even few of the investors have asked if you could elaborate on what exactly is will service and what would be covered.
So will services that, everyone has to have a will. There's a legal document. After, if you are not there, who should get all your assets and how it should be get divided within your family members. Now, and court will accept only which has been defined in the will. It is a registered will or an unregistered will, whatever may be. But that's what it basically. So do you want someone to help you to draft will? Do you want someone to help you to suggest you how you should be distributing your wealth? And that's what we are talking about will service.
Okay, I'll just conclude the poll. I can see 78 participation.
Yeah, please conclude. Please take a snapshot of this, Jason, and please share on the WhatsApp. Okay. Yeah. In the meantime, you just also launch a poll after some time about the family office. I can see 80% want will service to be there. 20% says no. I think more of you want us to start a will service. Will definitely think in that direction. Thanks for your participation. Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to this next particular question. This is by Mr. Anthony Alfred. Even his question is slightly on power issue. He says US is suffering heat and experiencing a power cut. Power prices are also going up by $5,000 per month, $5,000 per month, and Tesla is suffering power issues due to this. Will India be able to support power prices later?
I think so. So I think the biggest advantage India would have is because of renewable energy. And I think solar is going to be the very big game changer. So what problem some of this developed economy face because of the weather condition, I think for India, it would be much better service. So I think government of India, and if you remember, a lot of companies are talking about hydrogen cell and so on and so forth. I think that would be another way to create the more power for this. So I'm very hopeful that, and see, today we are all talking about power shortage and other things because the price of coal has gone up. There is a destruction, there is a war situation that disrupted the supply chain issue and so on and so forth. It's not going to remain as such for a longer period of time. I don't think that the power crisis is going to continue beyond 1 year because things will get normalized, and once the things get normalized, what looks was a bad situation will turn out to be a good situation. So I don't think that's a big problem. Just can you do it quickly?
Yeah, quickly run the second poll as well.
Family, yeah.
Oh, I think a few of the investors are saying that your audio is not good today. Since Mr. Sunil is actually doing it on Zoom, his audio is coming from the laptop and not from our Rode mic. I think that's why they must have felt the audio is slightly of a low quality.
Good. That's a good feedback to have. So I think I should have a good mic also when I'm doing on Zoom. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Someone has said my voice is a bit louder. Actually, I speak very close to the laptop. So that would be a particular reason. A few of the investors have written what exactly would be covered in family office service.
So family office is nothing but, you have a wealth and you want to ensure that, that wealth that you have created has been taken care very well, even if you're not there. And it doesn't only restrict to one generation. You create a family office so that wealth lasts generation after generation. So where should you invest your fund, how you should park your funds, what kind of assets allocation you should do, and so on and so forth. So that really helps you to not only see creating wealth is easy, but to sustain that wealth, because there is a very famous saying that the wealth doesn't last beyond third generation. And if you can create a family office that ensures that wealth lasts beyond a third, fourth, and fifth generation, that's what it basically does. So if you look at each and every successful business family, they do have a family offices. If that they have, because they understand the need for it, why not some of the retail investors and HN investors should not have it? Because you also created wealth and you want this wealth to sustain, even if you are not there, generation after generation. That is what the family office is all about. Assets allocation. how should you divide wealth, where you should divide wealth, and so on and so forth. This all gets covered under family office services.
Okay, I'll just wait for 5 more seconds before concluding the poll.
Yeah, please do that. You will also take a snapshot of this, Jason, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next few questions.
Can I show something? Because I just saw a breaking news.
Yeah.
Dow surges by 600 points.
I think it's a good news.
This is on the top of the high inflation and the high worry of 100 basis point rate hike. And that's why, I've been kept saying, if you remember, that risk reward ratio has gone in the favor of reward. And I strongly believe that those who are sitting on the fence should evaluate their investment strategy and start investing and allocating more to the equity market. Sorry, I just got distracted. Sorry.
Okay, I'll move on to this one particular question by Mr. Karthik. You spoke about herd mentality, like metal and oil recommendations that did not go well because we did enter the last leg of the run. Is auto industry also somewhere in the last leg of the run? And would we lose money if we enter now?
Okay, so let me correct. Okay. First thing, we were not the last one. The Vedanta, we invested in April 2021. We exited now after almost 100% gain. Some of the companies that we entered. So it's not that we just entered the last leg. Okay. Auto, I believe it will do well provided you. So there's stock specific. I'm not saying the rally is over in auto sector. Let me correct again. I said herd mentality for the automobile manufacturer. SUV demand is not going to collapse today. It will sustain at least for 1 year. But what's going to happen? Everyone is going into SUV. And that's where somewhere 1 year down the line, they will realize that there is an excess capacity for SUV. There is not enough demand, and hence people will see this. And I do believe that some auto companies will create a lot of wealth. They are not the last leg. In fact, they have just started doing very well. As I told you, this month we suggested Maruti as a stock of the month. And we believe that Maruti should do very well. Now, you may ask why, what is so special about Maruti? If you look at what I really like about the Maruti strategy, their focus is on the non-urban area. And that's where the competition is not so much. All these SUVs and all big players are focusing more on the urban India demand. While Maruti as a strategy has been focusing on non-urban area. Number one. Number two, Maruti is always known for its low cost maintenance and higher resale value. And that creates a lot of goodwill for people to buy. So I believe Maruti should do extremely well. They've also came out with the plan on the EV. And if you remember, the Suzuki, the parent company, already announced that they are going to set up a EV, battery EV plant in Gujarat. Almost more than 10,000 crore that they are going to invest. So I think they are a little ahead of the curve in terms of the strategy. Hence, I believe Maruti should do extremely well. So a stock specific, that they should do very well. That's what my sense is.
Okay, Mr. Sunil, that's it with the Q&A session for today.
So once again, we have a beautiful offer, 19,999 for 2 years, which works out to 10,000 per annum, 30 rupees or so per day. And that's a small price you need to pay to create alpha on the portfolio. And hence, I would strongly recommend you to become a subscriber. In case if you're not, if you're already a subscriber, you can extend as many times as possible. Remember, we will keep doing educative webinars on sector, on companies, on various issues that impact the market sentiments. And some of the webinars we only do for the paid members. And if you are a paid member, you are really allowed to come and attend that webinar. With this, thanks for your patient listening. Do write to us with your feedback, with your comments, as Jason was asking about the presentation style or the content of that. We'd love to hear from you. And we also love critical comments. So please do not hesitate to write that. With this, thanks a lot, Jason, for hosting this webinar. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Sunil, and thanks a lot, everyone, for attending the event as well. We also have a webinar tomorrow on the latest stocks that have entered the Mojo list. We'll be shortly sending invites to our professional paid members as well. Looking forward to seeing you all come for the event. Goodbye and have a great weekend.